The last day of my camping trip was reserved for something I've never done before.
The only thing I'm really nervous about is the class 3 rapid at the end.
So this rapid's called entrance exam.
Okay.
This was my first time on Whitewater, and I wasn't entirely sure what to expect, but I ended up having a fantastic time. This is the Nantahala River in western North Carolina, and I chose to use a Ducky for this trip, which I've also never used before. I do enjoy paddleboarding and have been kayaking a few times before, so while quite far from being an expert, I did have somewhat of an idea of how to paddle, at least in the calm sections. For those who aren't familiar with Duckies, they're inflatable kayaks, though they kind of look like a small 1 or 2 person raft.
I'm glad I have the splash jacket. Yeah.
The Nantahala is a dam-controlled river, with the water being pulled from the bottom of the lake, which means this river stays around 50 degrees year-round. This trip actually almost didn't happen. I booked with Nantahala Outdoor Center and found out the day before that no one else had booked a guided Ducky trip for the day, and they said they didn't do guided trips for just a single person, but would be happy to rent me a Ducky. Considering I had zero whitewater experience, I wasn't thrilled about this option, but decided when I arrived I would ask the people who know far more than I do about this stuff if they thought it would be fine for someone new to this to do it by themselves or not, and then follow their suggestions. Luckily, as you can see, they did end up finding a guide for the trip. I don't believe you can send a request for a specific guide at Nantahala Outdoor Center, but my guide was Kyle, and he was great. In between the time I recorded this trip and the time I'm editing it, I actually also went to a river paddleboarding lesson on the Nolichucky in northeast Tennessee, and also had a ton of fun, which is mildly unfortunate as my bank account says I shouldn't have any more new hobbies right now. I'd consider whitewater paddleboarding a different hobby than the flatwater paddling I currently do because the gear is slightly different. The board I own now is a Kokopelli Chasm Light, which isn't designed for whitewater, and I would also need some additional safety gear like a helmet.
Follow my line as best you can. And if you think you can't get the threading part through that little gap, you can always go to the right of the rock.
Take a look.
Ready?
Yep. Much fun. I'm definitely glad I had a guide. I'd say it's somewhere similar to like mountain biking down a trail that's like at your max level that you've never been on before. It's nice to have someone to like tow you in and show you what the right line is and warn you like, hey, this is coming up, watch out for this. So I'm glad they were able to find me a guide. It was just me, a guide, and then another girl who works here. I don't know if she's training or if she was there to sweep, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. I do think it was helpful that I have some very basic kayaking experience. Like, I know how to do a backstroke. It's not necessarily picture perfect, or it's not intuitive. Every now and then I have to think about like what would be the best stroke to do to go where I want to go. But it was definitely helpful that I somewhat knew that, and like I definitely used that. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Hopefully it came across really well on video. I'm excited to see that. So, yeah, it was a really good time.
I'll put a link to all other videos from this camping trip in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to be always adventuring.